The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when being run away from it.
So anyway, I said, no, that's a mint chocolate chip cookie. And that's the story of how I became a cop. Oh shit, we're like, oh, guns up. I said guns.
Hello, hello. Oh, he's not here, guys. Oh, there he is. Guns up, guys.
We're missing a giddy up somewhere. So I'll say it. Giddy up.
There it is. Say y'all, Drew. Say y'all.
Giddy up, y'all. Drew, I don't know
There
why
it
you
is.
keep calling me Drew. My name is Eric Tansey. I am wearing a Drew
Clearly.
mask. Yeah.
Clearly. That would have been a better Halloween get up. I think I would have preferred that.
An
Mhm.
aging beard.
Say what? What'd you say?
An aging beard.
I like
A
it. I
receding
like it.
hairline.
So,
Okay.
hey guys, as most of you know, Skate Daddy is home pretending to be Tony Hawk. He's wearing his Tony Hawk uniform and a cast on his right arm because he was skateboarding this weekend with his, he said that was a lot of guns up. Well, we can't say it enough, Eric. So he's in the chats. If you're here now, you know that because you're in the chats as well. He says hello to everyone, but I decided it would be best for all involved that we don't have an Oxy influenced Eric on the show tonight. So he's here with love and support in the chats. Tolerable transy is what Lastro says. Good evening, Lastro. Happy Tuesday. It's Tansy Hawk, says Micah McFowle. So yeah, guys. So surprise, surprise, we have Drew with us tonight. Drew, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's our first show back since Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Is there
I'm still
that much
full.
of a delay? Are you? Am I delayed?
I'm generally delayed in most aspects of my life, so that probably carries over to this evening.
Okay. If you're experiencing a horrible delay, please say something in the chat. I won't be able to keep up with the chat, so I'll never know. But if you're experiencing this delay, just raise your hand. I can't see you anyway. But yes, how was your Thanksgiving?
Great. The kids and I went back to Tennessee, saw some family. It was quick turn and burn. It's a long drive. I had to just keep saying to the kids things like, it's okay, guys. I'd much rather be in this car with music and, air conditioning, and sitting in traffic safe than in that wreck that's up there or then whatever, because I had to say it enough to where you were not gonna hear like a crime show about me this week because I was losing my mind. What about you? What'd you get into?
We had family here at the house in Lutz. We survived the multiple deer out back and the gator that lives on the banks of the
I did like that reel.
The mighty breezy river. So yeah, we just had some family over here. We had a good old time, and it's what Thanksgivings are made for. That
Absolutely.
And being thankful, and just if you're completely unhappy, I'm sure you have some kind of take on colonizers massacring Indians, and not being thankful for the fact that they shared a meal together. They broke bread.
They broke bread. Yes, thank you. They broke bread. at the end of the day.
Right.
That's what matters. Did you consider, just a question, it would have been more reminiscent of the first Thanksgiving, more cost effective, and potentially healthier to just harvest one of the deer that you have out back? Did you consider that for Thanksgiving?
It's a little too lifelike. No. So the answer is no. We did make some maize though.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I started the day in a loincloth, but that was nixed by my
Oh.
fiance.
Oh. Okay, okay. Did you
I don't
have to change completely, or did you leave it on and just put pants on over it?
do the math. I mean,
I don't want to. I'm done.
what do you think?
How am I turning into Eric now? He's gone, and now I'm doing the Eric bit. I'm not doing that, guys. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, you might have seen I teased the show on Instagram today. I gotta get better. I'm doing that later and later as time has gone on. But I was originally gonna talk about the horrible, horrible murder of the four. Oh, I just tisked. So there it is, everybody. Heidi, good
Girl.
evening. Goral.
Girl.
Simply radiant, Goral. I was gonna talk about the terrible incident that happened in Idaho where the 4 college students have been murdered. It was a couple weeks ago, and it's terrible. The reason I didn't do that, we might do that next Tuesday. The reason we didn't is because at this moment there are only a handful of solid facts, and everything else is speculation. As you can imagine, with 4 college kids found dead from stabbing while sleeping in their home, in their apartment off campus, it's huge. Since no one has been caught or was not caught initially, I think authorities were hoping that was what was going to happen. Clearly, they thought that they had kind of a beat on what was going on and that it was pretty personal. And now that some time has gone on and they haven't, as you can imagine, we've talked about this multiple times with multiple cases. They're keeping everything very, very, very tight-lipped and very close to the chest, as they should.
Is it close to the vest or close to the chest?
It's vest. Thank you for pointing it out. It is vest. I said chest. But maybe that's what I'll just say now. I'm going. So it's close to the chest.
Gutter mouth.
If you're a woman, you say close to the chest. We don't really wear vests. So if you're a man, you say close to the vest. I think that's the proper.
I know every casino I've ever been in, the stew has been a female that's wearing a vest.
Well, if you are on a reservation or in a casino and you're a woman, you can say vest.
A lot of Indian talk,
outside
hot Native American.
Because I just went to Tennessee, and you have to pass Cherokee, North Carolina, and there's a casino right there on
Trail
that
of
reservation.
Yeah.
Say what?
The Trail of Nickels.
Right
to the nickel slots, the Trail of Tears.
It is. It's the trail of tokens. So that's what I thought about immediately. I saw the signs for it. I've been there a long time ago, and it is in fact a dry casino. So that's good to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I didn't spend much money, but anyway, close to their bodies. They're keeping all of the information very close to their bodies and their attire. And because of this, I didn't want to go on and talk about that tonight. Because I didn't want to just spend the next hour on rampant speculation. So maybe let's let that brew for another week or so, see what happens, see if anything develops. And if so, then we may talk about that next Tuesday. Instead, went a totally different route, and we're going to talk about catfishing, particularly an incident that happened this past Friday in Riverside, California, which is horrible. And then it's a really short case to talk about. So we're going to kind of get into some other ideas and other kind of paradigms of catfishing and what that might look like, and what that might have even looked like before the internet, because that's how we associate it. But it, in fact,
hang on a second. I am very, very confused, because we said I came prepared. I grew up a New York Yankees fan because I was that's all there was in Western New York where I was growing up for a period of time. And I was convinced that we were just going to talk about Jim Catfish Hunter. I don't understand what you meant by catfish. That's the only catfish I know. The only Halloween costume I ever had that was not a cop, by the way, was 1 year. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was going to say I was Catfish Hunter. I was not. I was Sparky Lyle. I was Sparky Lyle 1 year for Halloween, and I had a big wax. You remember the wax harmonicas?
Of course I do.
Well, I chewed one of those down and had a big chaw in my.
Yes. It has flavor for the first chew and a half.
Yeah. If that.
And then if you accidentally bite down a little bit on one side, you only get the sound from the other side because now this one's all mushed together. That's a formidable costume, though. I like it. That was a formidable stash.
Yeah, thank you. It was. I mean, I had a little mustache and everything. And so, speaking of which, though, not to get us too far off track, but
which
do you remember the wax pop bottles? Do you remember those?
Yes, and they had the liquid inside them.
They had a liquid. They had a pleasant surprise. Which, anyway, the harmonicas,
and that also was like it's kind of syrupy, right? Don't you remember? Like it was liquid, but it was like a little much.
Oh no, I'm sure
it was pure. Like I'm sure it was like just like Karo syrup in a wax
just
bottle.
Like high fructose corn syrup with red dye 40.
Well, I'm waiting for Eric to pipe in because Tainsy's got a picture. Do you remember the wax lips?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a fan favorite as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll surface at some point.
Right.
So yeah. So Halloween. So that's cute, Drew. First of all, I see you. I've got your number now. You came at it all like, oh, give me a second. Not sure if I'm gonna get us all ready to go. And you're like, oh, hang on, wapa, like a miss and a jab, and like, let me show you my producer skills. Hold on, Andrea. I was teasing. Earlier.
I was a horrible undercover, but there is something known as survival mode, and survival mode kicks in for me sometimes. So like I'm basically doing undercover with you. Like inside, I'm terrified.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just playing the part of.
Well, you're doing a good job because, guys, what you didn't hear is right before this, we're on the phone with people, we're figuring it out and logging in and logging out and pushing buttons. And he's like, oh, goodness. Okay, well, now I've got to be responsible. And I'm like, I guess you are. I guess you're taking the lead.
Google? I don't know what's a Google? I don't know what your fancy terms are.
What's a Google?
Yeah.
So the case we're talking about tonight, y'all, if you saw it on Instagram, is please let me before I forget. We are gonna talk Delphi. We are gonna talk about it when this is over, because I'm afraid if we start, we won't even have a show. Otherwise, it will just be a Delphi show, which I'm also okay with. But we now have the probable cause for search warrant documentation that's been redacted has been released to the public. So actually 2 or 3 of you guys sent that to me this evening. I saw it earlier today. It was just a few hours ago, I think, that it was released, or a few hours ago that I saw it. Thank you to those who thought about me to send it. But yes, we are definitely going to be talking about that. I don't know. It just gets my heart gets in my throat a little bit every time I see something come out about Delphi. To this day, it's killing me. So I'm happy to see that it's a little bit, it's a little more. And then since you and I were together talking to the investigative producer. Okay, I just want to make sure I got his title right because I don't know what that means.
He was an investigative producer because I think I asked him if he was a private investigator, and he said no.
He's an IP, not a PI.
He said, I am not licensed anywhere. He was very adamant about his licensure.
Okay.
That's good.
Yep.
He's an honest fella.
He is an honest fella. But when he was on the show, we went down some rabbit holes there and talked about some things there. So since you and I were together, that'll be great that we can talk about this now with some of this updated information. But anyway, welcome, guys. I'm glad y'all are here tonight. Glad you're with me. Again, Skate Daddy's in the comments there, so you guys can chit chat with him some. He may, unless he passed out. I don't know. I saw him on FaceTime earlier and his pupils were pinpointed, and I don't know how long he'll last tonight. But you can talk to him when you can until his broken arm pain medication takes full effect.
Just remember what level the Def Leppard drummer got back to with one arm. You know what I'm saying? So like our thoughts and this is a perfect thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and
Love
prayers.
and light.
PHOTS, as he pointed out.
Love and light.
And so I have lit my Brittany Faulkner Memorial fake candle lamp in honor of Tansy and his ligaments and arms. He broke it just below the elbow.
Just below the funny bone.
Yeah. And there's nothing. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this will affect his comedy from here going forward.
It's true. He has a broken funny bone.
Humorous.
Maybe it'll fix it.
Maybe he'll be kinder to you.
You think?
Yeah.
We'll see if it works.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Speaking of Brittany, and we really will get to the show, guys. I'm not trying to spend all evening on this, but Eric does a good job of coming in and housekeeping and moving forward. And I'm my ADD gets a hold of me sometimes. Really exciting merch news. Right, Drew? So we've been in kind of a constant text thread this past week with Jonathan Bates from Difficult to Look At Pictures. I think he's in somewhere. Oh, I see him. Drew's Little Spoon. He changed his name.
Here's my little spoon.
So Jonathan's been working really hard and getting a lot of things together for us. We're kind of shifting to using some of him and some of his art a little bit more for our merch, at least currently. And it's looking fantastic. And I can't wait for you guys to see some more. But we want to do t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts. I want to do, there's a couple of baseball tees, if you guys like that I'd like to get done. Coffee mugs, tumblers. Brittany Faulkner, in fact, is the one who requested some koozies, which is great. Brittany, you can put your water in it until you spit that baby out, and then you can use it for anything else. It should be soon, though. It should be soon. Probably by the time we get it all drawn up and sent out, you should be ready for a proper koozie. Yeah, so we got a lot of merch coming up and a lot of super, super awesome designs that I'm really pumped about. So that should hopefully be coming down the pipeline pretty soon.
Which begs the question: do we have maternity sizes in the?
We should.
Styles, yeah.
I think we should.
Hey,
I think we can offer it.
My little spoon has reminded me of something. We do have several shows during the week.
Yeah, we do.
Monday, you can tune in and listen to Mike the Cop and Hey Big Daddy D as they rip the headlines from the internet, and they discuss police and police-related stories. And they are two intelligent and very humorous human beings, one being a very successful multi-businessman and the other being a pre-responder. Then on Tuesday nights, as evidenced by this moment right here,
currently,
there's a show called Night Shift. It's with the beautiful Andrea. Her Instagram is Andrea Up Late. We'll show that later, perhaps, if we figure out how to do that. And normally Eric Tansey is sitting here, but because, and I'm not being ableist, but because I have two hands, I am sitting in for him.
How dare you?
Thursday nights, you don't want to miss Eric's show, which is called Last Call of the Day. It's so you don't have to talk about dead babies and domestic violence on the weekends like your asshole buddies who are first responders. And that's all you get to talk about. And then Friday is our flagship show. It's called Failure to Stop. And we break down all of the relevant crime and crime-related things. We have guests. We have fun. We make fun of each other at times. It's a good time. This Friday, I believe, I'm like in the 97th percentile of belief that I'm going to be sitting in with one or two of Eric's arms. And what I want to do on a serious note is talk about the deadly month of, it's like a span of November through December of 2009 in the Pacific Northwest, specifically around Seattle, because there were 6 police officers that were killed during that time. So in order to kind of make sure that their memory stays alive and keeps that candle lit for them, I'm going to break down it was 3 different cases that occurred all within succession. I mean, they were just getting pounded up there. So that's kind of the lineup. We bring you, please download on any podcast platform that you have.
Yes.
I would never suggest that you go to a Best Buy or you go to Walmart and you look at the iPhones or the iPads in there and you go to the podcast app on the iPhone or iPad and click download. I would never suggest that you do that because I think that might be illegal. But if you click download for, just say you happen to be in Best Buy, say you happen to be in Walmart, and you open up the podcast app and you go to the failure to stop show, and you click download, anything can happen. And
because you just don't, you want to know before you potentially purchase a phone, you want to make sure all the functions work. Yeah.
You test drive a car before you buy it.
It's too easy.
Normally it's too easy.
So just go to all of the local electronic sales places are going to have all of their displays out right now because it's that time of year, guys. 'Tis the season. Try them all out.
I'm going for a last row hat trick here. I tend to pick on him a lot because he has funny things to say, but this is also kind of a coded message for our Big Daddy Transy. So I just wanted to make sure he saw that. And I'm going to turn it right back to you. I just wanted to take care of some of that housekeeping stuff, though I'm not a good housekeeper. Let's be clear.
I don't know. It looks really tidy behind you.
Thank you.
My plant's dead again, so that's just how I roll. So yeah, guys. So we're gonna move it on over to Riverside, California. We're gonna be talking about this super, super terrible case that just happened on Friday. So, internet safety, man. I know it sounds like I'm talking to a bunch of kids, but if you got kids, if you know kids, if you yourself can be vulnerable, please, for the love, don't talk to people you don't know online, except for all these people in the chats that you've been talking to for.
We are what? Oh, luckily we are one big Wolfpack family, but beyond, if you don't know the Wolfpack, then I would not talk to them.
Hey, all you strangers in the chat, don't talk to people you don't know online. Holy guacamole. All right. So, so what happened? A 15-year-old girl in California befriends someone online. This guy, Austin Lee Edwards is his name. I think he's 28 years old. I've looked and looked and looked. If you found it, Drew, please interrupt me. But I've not been able to find yet how he catfished her. We do know that they've continuously said he catfished her. So because of that, if you're not familiar, it's the term given to when someone in some way shows themselves as someone else, so they can portray themselves as a different gender, a different age, a different anything to as a means to get something that they want, whatever that may be. So this guy catfished her. They've not told us yet. I don't know if she thought he was a 15-year-old boy, if she thought he was like a fun girl that she was hanging out with, whatever. It really doesn't matter. But she did not know he was a 28-year-old man who lived in Virginia. So on Friday, Austin drove all the way to California. He quit his job the month before, and we're going to talk about that and what that job was. And he drove to California from Virginia. This girl, they've not given her name. She lived with her mother and her grandmother and her grandfather. Grandmother and grandfather in their early 60s. The grandfather is known to be they all are known to be upstanding members of their community. He taught baseball for years and years. Everyone knew him. Mark and Cherie are the grandmother and grandfather's names. They said that they were a light of the community. Everyone felt just happy and safe around them. They always had people over, these kinds of things. The girl's mother's name, I believe, is Brooke. Yeah, and so Brooke was a 38-year-old single mom who had come back. They were living with the grandparents in a pretty quintessential California home. Stucco, Spanish tile, looked like a really nice neighborhood. And so that's kind of the background of the home life there. So the 15-year-old girl befriends this, what she doesn't know is a grown man on Facebook or online. He begins to gain her trust. He learns more personal things about her. They eventually start texting rather than just talking online. And then she eventually gives up where he lives. I don't know, these are the things you got to think about. Did he tell her he lives in the subdivision over or the town over? Does she know how far away he lives? None of this matters, but she winds up giving up a lot of information. And he drove. He drove all the way there. Upon getting to the home, he shot and killed her mother, her grandmother, and her grandfather, the only other 3 people that lived in the home. And then he set the home on fire, or attempted to, and then put the girl in his red car and drove away. Now, what happened is a neighbor got an alert from his Ring, or one of his camera apps, that said that there was smoke in the neighborhood. He came home and saw that and alerted authorities. But at the same time, other people were alerting dispatchers that a girl looked to be in quite an emotional state in this car, getting in this car. They didn't feel comfortable with what they were seeing. So authorities are getting 2 different types of calls that are taking them to the same neighborhood. Upon getting to the home, they see that there's smoke. They open the door to go inside, and immediately upon entering, find the 3 bodies of Brooke, Cherie, and Mark, and drag them outside. They've been killed. They put out the fire of the home. A few hours go by, and they're able to track down the car that Austin is in with the girl. They get into a bit of a shootout. He shoots at police. He gets himself killed that way. She survived. She's physically okay. She immediately went into government services to take care of her for a little bit. There is other family, extended family around that I think that she's probably already with at this point. And essentially that's the story. Now, this guy, I was careful to tell the story first before I say what he did, because what he did, I hate to even say it's what he did for a living. He had just recently become a police officer. He was a deputy in Virginia. He had just graduated from the training in January of this past year. So had not spent a full year there yet. Had got hired on the July prior. So I'm actually going to show you. Do you mean to hold up? I've got a picture of him that might be a little easier to see. Do you mean to do that, Drew?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I listen. I can fill in a couple of blanks for you. First, I watched the Good Morning LA stuff on this morning, and it was the chief. I think his name is Rodriguez. I mean, look at this dude. He looks like
his eyes, man.
Yeah. If I'm trying to think of who the top of his head would be, but if Bill Hader and I don't.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, right. So he's got a little Bill Hader look from the nose down. I'm just trying to figure out who he'd be. Oh, Schrute, Dwight Schrute.
Definitely Dwight Schrute. Yeah, that'd work.
Okay, so if Bill Hader and Dwight Schrute
had a baby,
lumber
with
chef,
crazy eyes.
Tell me. Can you show that one more time?
Me? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So confirmed. So the chief of police from Riverside Police did an extensive interview. And by extensive, I say like 6 minutes. I mean, there's only so much he's going to be able to talk about in an investigation like this, strictly because they're dealing with not just a crime scene. They're dealing with 2 crime scenes. One's out of state. Yep. Actually, 3 crime scenes when you think about it. But one's out of state in Nevada where the shootout occurred, where the suspect is, and where the girl, the 15-year-old victim, luckily escaped. They're dealing with a physical crime scene involving an arson and 3 dead people, being, the victim's mom and the victim's grandparents. And I don't know how they died. I mean, maybe that was already released. I don't know. I know that apparently he killed them and then he set the house on fire, and and was successful in setting the house on fire. But it's like a Spanish kind of typical California home, beautiful home, surrounded by even more, just equally as beautiful homes. Not like the Brady Bunch, architecture, Mike Brady kind of California home.
Yeah, no, it was like Spanish tile. Yeah, really pretty neighborhood. Like
the Castillo, like the tile roof kind of California home. So they're dealing with that crime scene. So you got 3 physical crime scenes, but you also have a forensic. The computer, the internet's.
Oh yeah.
on it these days.
The
That's
electronic.
the electronic part of this, the forensic investigation that's going to go along with that. So he's not able to talk a whole lot about the investigation anyway, other than, probably what we kind of have heard. He did say that he didn't know, and that could be because the chief of police, didn't know, but I was kind of led to believe that the agency didn't know what either app or website,
Right.
he contacted her on, and how but there was indication that he had groomed her. And he was kind of making and this is just guess on my part, but he was kind of making references to this potentially may not be the only victim, meaning he has attempted this before, but he's, this is the one he's successfully carried
Or at
out.
least been in communication with.
Right. And this is the one that kind of played along with it, if you will. So
Yeah.
very sad story, but keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, that's kind of it. That's the point. That's the end of the story. And that's where I was going to go into a little bit of the details on him, becoming a police officer, because man, all they can say, I mean, there's like you said, what are they gonna say? All they can say is that there were no red flags, there was no lapse of judgment on his part that they could find. There were no, his background check came back clean. Boom, bam, boom. He got the job. I'll tell you what, I know you can't turn someone away just by their physical appearance. Someone in the chats just said, I think it was or Jonathan, I think, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Just that his eyes, he should have failed on his eyes alone. Look, I'm telling you, there's something to be said about a feeling you get from somebody. And I would like to think that even if I had not read anything about this case, but I just saw this picture, I don't think my feeling would be a whole lot different than I have right now. Windows, eyes are the windows to the soul. I don't care what anyone says. I'm telling you right now, you can see a lot in someone. Regardless, I digress. But so he had been, and I'm putting the story to you this way because I'm starting to read it, and I mean, right here, boom, CNN. A former Virginia police officer believed to have murdered a teenager's family. Right, everything is da-da-da. No one says he really barely had that job for any amount of time. The second he got it, he turns around and does this. He's not doing it because he's a cop. Him being a cop had nothing to do with him being a creep. And him being a creep had nothing to do with him being a cop, unless use that in some way to, set him up to volley him to be with more stuff.
No, if that were the case, he wouldn't, I don't think he would be successful because he'd be revealing his age at that point. Right.
Right.
So if he's trying to convince her that he's somebody he's not, unless he was just saying,
unless he thought he could get away with things with authorities or outside of the actual victims. Maybe. I don't know.
I will say this, that the media does a good job at picking either the greatest picture for the murderer or the worst picture for the cop. And they definitely chose the worst picture for him because, I mean, he does. He looks like a pedo. I mean, let's face it. But not to judge a book by its cover, but I saw
the inside of the book at this point, so I think you're free to say what you want.
I saw footage of him graduating from, I believe it was the Virginia. He was a trooper in the state of Virginia. I know that may shock Eric, but he was a trooper before he went to work for a local law enforcement agency. They showed him walking across the stage to accept his thing, and his head was shaved. He looked like a trooper. I mean, it's not, I really don't, I mean, he didn't look like Peter Petto probably his whole life, and that's a lot of P's. I understand.
Yeah. I like alliteration.
Thank you. So I don't know what his game was. And this is another observation I had when I was watching. First of all, when I was watching the Chief, they were, it was Good Morning LA or something. So I think it's Fox based, it's a local Fox station in LA. So I think they're probably going to kind of treat that with kid gloves anyway, just for the politics behind it. I don't care either way. The guy's a cop, he's a cop, and we're going to talk about him being a cop. I mean,
sure.
We have to take the good with the bad. The spokesman, though, not the chief, but the spokesman for the Riverside PD did make reference to kind of the same thing. I would agree with what he said, which is, look, I don't know how much experience this guy has as a cop. But we're not going to ignore it. Like we're not going to just say, oh yeah. I mean, in other words, it does us no good as a profession to try to downplay this.
No.
The media is going to just like this police officer took advantage of, and all he has to do.
Yeah, they're going to upplay it for sure.
Right. He could have been a pre-responder for all we know, but he was actually a certified law enforcement officer. Obviously he passed psychological backgrounds, and that begs questions such as what are the limits, or how does one slip through these, or was there a disciplinary issue at the previous agency that made him go to the other agency, or was he just like completely not on the radar at all, just some loner dude? And
it sounds like not on the radar, and only, or unless they've just not disclosed to us, which is possible. But everything that they said, ooh, I'm shaking everything. Everything that they said was just that he had no prior anything, like I said, no lapses in judgment or delinquent activity or anything in his background check. So I think he had just flown under the radar.
Well, that's in his background check, and that's what it takes just about every cop to be. I mean, there are of course, that threshold's been lowered now because of the hemorrhage in the profession. But if you've ever
numbers,
yeah, I mean, if you've dealt with anybody in recruitment and screening, you would know, and it depends on your administration, by the way. But there's a pretty high threshold to get through. Like, we had to lower our threshold for like marijuana, tattoos, and even tobacco use. Like we had no tobacco use within the last 365 days of the application, and all these other things. And
right.
Now we're having the place where I used to work anyway, they're having to change some of these criteria because we're just losing so many people. And
yeah.
So, we're gonna, this is the product of what I've been talking about, the drum I've been beating since probably 2010, 2011. And that is, go ahead and keep talking your smack about law enforcement. Keep saying all these nasty things about law enforcement, how you can't trust them, how that they're racist and they're just dirty liars, and that the system is corrupt and they do nothing but cover for one another. Because what's going to happen is a fundamental shift, exactly as it's happening right now.
Yep.
And you're going to hemorrhage. I mean, when you had the perfect storm of COVID and you had the George Floyd,
yeah.
I mean, this is like post Ferguson. So you had George Floyd and COVID all at once. Everyone thought, guys like me looked at our calendars and said, I could be making just as much money at home doing nothing. So sayonara, have
without the headache.
Especially if, and this is, I might be preaching to the choir here to some of the cops in the chat, but especially if your administration is not as willing to see what you're seeing. In other words, like you're looking at you're short-staffed and people are quitting all around you, but they're still worried about you catching up on your SOPs, and they're willing to threaten you via memo to catch up on your SOPs. Like, okay, I mean, keep playing that game. But so just to say, just to get back to what I was saying, and I hate to hijack your whole show here, but
no, please.
The greater social impact in all of this is what I've been saying. Even credit it to Uvalde. This is the exact same thing I'm saying about Uvalde.
Yep.
Keep calling them cowards. And what's going to happen is all the good ones are going to leave because they can't lead anymore. You can't lead a bunch of people that are just beaten down so badly that they don't want to work. And nobody wants to use force anymore. And the social justice warriors are saying, good, then mission accomplished. Okay, but at the price of a lot of police officers and at the price of the public.
The public.
Because use of deadly force is the threat of death or great bodily harm to yourself or somebody else, to include the citizens that we're charged with protecting. And by the way, the highest percentage. We're not dealing 97% criminal, 3% good citizen. It's the other way around. So when you create this situation like this, you get Peter Petto walking across the stage, and he drives from Virginia to California, and he wipes out a family and steals a 15-year-old because he slips through the cracks, because we're under the pressure of filling manning of filling numbers. And I'm completely making that up. I'm just saying, I'm just drawing the comparison.
No,
like
I
I'm not
know.
saying that's what happened in this situation, but this is what's going to start to happen. So lawlessness is something that you all need to get used to if the media wants to and social media, by the way, wants to continue on this path. And then of course, midterm comes around or presidential election comes around, and the people that are screaming defund the police are saying, no, that wasn't us saying defund the police, that was them. But it's not. It's just
won't
not
matter.
the way.
And it won't matter.
Right. So
then they can say what they want. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Please
I'm
don't
sorry,
be.
you were saying? Yeah. Okay.
So happy Tuesday, guys. No, thank you. I really value your input there a lot. I really enjoyed what you had to say. So that's that. If you guys have questions, particularly this would be a Drew area of expertise more than myself in certain areas here. So if you have questions, throw them in the chats. What we can to wear all the hats of producer, non-producer, to whatever it is we're doing. So got together a few examples, some a little funny, some not, but some other crimes that took place with catfishing. And then I want to talk about a little bit of a different idea, a little take on catfishing. So listen to this. Some of these I'm just going to kind of read off because they're not like cases or anything that we've really looked into. It's just interesting little stories that I printed out. Bosco says he left in 2018 after 8 years, something. He was tired of the BS. I think that was it, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at me reading ahead. He was tired of the BS. So, thank you, Bosco. All right. So check this out. I'm going to just read this verbatim. It says that because of her health issues and her strict parents, Janelle Potter was a shut-in with zero social life. As a result of her upbringing, she lived most of her life on social media, where she would make fake profiles and be whoever it is she wanted to be. However, her life took a strange turn once she started making some real-life friends. So one of them was actually Billy Payne. She had a crush on this guy, Billy Payne. Billy had a wife named Billie Jean. Okay.
Whoa.
That's true. He's Billy and she's Billie for the record. I'm reading it. You're only hearing it.
Billie Jean was his lover.
She was. She.
And they lived in the house of pain.
Oh, jump around. So Billy's wife, Billie Jean, we'll call her, was Janelle's arch nemesis. They actually write those words. I don't like this writing. After Janelle mysteriously started getting rude comments left on her Facebook wall, which she suspected were from the wife, Billy, she unfriended the couple entirely. She later tells 2020 that the wife, Billy, was jealous of her looks. I don't have a picture. I wish that I did. That's all. I just wish that I did based on that statement. But as soon as the harassment continued and Janelle went to plan B. So she told, here's what, Janelle's parents are not the sharpest tools in the shed either. She tells her parents that there's a CIA agent named Chris. I think he was on our show. Who was protecting her from cyber bullies. Chris told her parents all the horrible things Billy and his wife were doing to Janelle. So Janelle's father got fed up about this with encouragement from the CIA guy, Chris, who is just a 19-year-old girl on social media, by the way, to help defend her from bullies, because that's what the CIA does. Her dad goes over and shoots and kills Billy and his wife.
Whoa.
Right? But of course, we all know where this is going. They go to the home, they search the Potter's home, and they get the computers. They found out that Chris is actually Janelle the whole time. Like that's a Shaggy and Scooby episode if I ever heard one. But anyway, yeah. So her dad, how do you convince your parents of that? Anyway, whatever. But that's a little catfishing. So this one is actually, we're not going to go through all of these. This one is interesting. There was a man named Thomas Montgomery.
That's Billy Payne and Billie Jean Hayward. by the way.
Oh, there you are again. There you are again with your I don't know how to work this. Oh, let me pull up this story I've never even heard of, and I'm going to show you my production skills.
It's in the house
Look
of
at
pain.
look at that.
Yeah, Janelle, House of Pain.
House of Pain. Now all I want to do is sing that song. Oh my. When you're good. When Thomas Montgomery started chatting with a teenage girl he met in a chat room, let me show you. I'm going to show you a little picture of Thomas here. So here's Thomas. Well, there's Thomas.
What's your
There's
name?
Tom.
What?
Montgomery.
Okay.
Ooh, we just got close again.
Okay.
Say what? What'd you say?
Make Me an Angel flies from Montgomery. That's a song. Sorry.
I thought you were going to sing Paint Me a Birmingham.
Ooh.
I don't know why. That's different.
Is that an artist?
Say what?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, you got us close. Now we're far. Okay, yeah, that's him. When Thomas Montgomery started chatting with a teenage girl he met in a chat room named Tall Hot Blonde, he lied and he told her he was 18 instead of 47. Together, the two had a cyber affair that lasted until Thomas's wife found out. Of course she did. Realizing he could no longer pursue the relationship anymore, Thomas came clean to Tall Hot Blonde about his
PHP.
real age.
We call her PHP.
Like, here's what's bothered me. I'll tell you this. Things like this bug me. So picture the words Tall Hot Blonde all together. However, I guess she ran out of characters or couldn't use enough. So tall is just spelled T-A-L. And so when you look at it, it looks like Tall Hot Blonde, and it's bugging me. So Thomas came clean to Tall Hot Blonde about his real age. Horrified, the teen turned her attention to Thomas's 22-year-old coworker, Brian Barrett, and those two grew closer, but then Thomas became violently jealous, y'all. In 2006, as Brian sat in his car, the coworker, Thomas shot him with a sniper rifle. I love how they say that, with a sniper rifle. Is it a sniper rifle if you're not a sniper?
I don't know. Is it a carpenter's hammer if you're not a carpenter? I mean, it's just a hammer at that point, right? You could still, a carpenter can use it. Is it a surgeon's knife just because a surgeon's holding it? I mean,
well, it's a sniper rifle. So Thomas shot Brian Barrett, his coworker, with the sniper rifle. Investigators get to the scene. They start questioning coworkers. They worry about Tall Hot Blonde's safety, clearly, as one would. They go to her home, but they don't find a teenager. They find Mary Scheel, a middle-aged mom. It turns out this isn't funny at all.
Are you sure? She was neither tall nor hot nor blonde. So there's 3 counts right there. Mary, bugging.
It turns out Mary had been pretending to be her teenage daughter and was catfishing the two men all along. But listen, here's where it's wrong. This is like this. I don't understand this. So Thomas is currently serving a 20-year sentence. I mean, as he should. He killed someone. But Mary was never convicted of anything. It just says that her daughter and her husband no longer speak to her.
But did somebody die? I don't understand.
Yeah, Thomas killed his coworker because he thought Tall Hot Blonde was interested in his coworker, which she was. But the whole time, Tall Hot Blonde is not 8. She said she was 18. She was a middle-aged mom. Which, hey, by the way, let's take it easy on the middle-aged mom jokes. All right.
Hey, that's true. And I don't know your height.
I'm not tall.
Well.
It wasn't me.
Listen, here's another like pre-internet kind of internet catfish story. Do you remember? Do you remember the talk show known as
Sally Jesse Raphael? Jenny Jones. Yeah, I remember Jenny Jones.
Who doesn't remember Jenny Jones? And Jenny Jones ended up probably broke. And do you remember why? Jenny Jones. Yeah, go for it if you remember.
I A little bit, because there was also was it just her? Was there not a scandal with Sally Jesse too, or is it just Jenny Jones that I'm thinking of?
No, it's probably just Jenny Jones. Here, let me show you this.
Did it have to do with someone? Was someone gay?
Yes.
Or she said they were, or they weren't, or something like that?
Nope. What happened was this fella in the middle. His name is Scott Amador. He had this.
I remember that vest.
Well, actually,
keep it close to the vest, Scott.
Yeah, the three of them were friends. This we'll call her.
Oh, it's coming back to me.
Tall, hot, blonde, and so the three of them were friends, and he confided in her that he was in love with this fella here, Jonathan Schmitz, and so they brought him on the Jenny Jones show. Just under the guise of, we have a secret admirer. Are you interested in showing up here and finding out who it is so we can get your reaction?
It was terrible. Yes.
Yeah. So they brought him out, and this dude just like, confessed his love for this dude, Scott. And I mean, his name is Scott. His name is Jonathan. So Jonathan is like, what do you, Jenny's like, so what do you think? I mean, did you know that Scott was, had your eye? And he was like, no. He was laughing and joking about it. And he was like,
he got pissed,
no.
So he got super uncomfortable.
Yeah. He's like, I can tell you I didn't know, but I can also tell you that I'm heterosexual. I'm not homosexual. So 2 days later, Jonathan went over to Scott's trailer and shot him with a shotgun, killed him.
Yep.
And the family said that had Jenny Jones and her production staff not catfished him.
Well, it's like shock value. Yeah, it was all
bombarded him with this news, humiliated him is what they framed it as. But he would be alive today if he hadn't been humiliated like that. So the jury awarded $25 million to that family, but I think it was lost on appeal. That Jonathan Schmitz was convicted of the murder and then subsequently released. Like, he's out. He's already out after doing 20 years or whatever.
Jeez.
But
oh, and it was uneasy, and you can go back. I mean, anyone can go back and watch that clip of that moment, and it's sad. It is sad because you see that that Scott was nervous and excited, and you see that Jonathan was very uneasy. This was in a time when people were definitely much more uneasy about this kind of thing, and I think that for Jonathan, the association alone, of course, it did not warrant him to go out and kill this man, but he felt humiliated. Scott felt defeated and disappointed. The whole thing was weird, but you know what? She wasn't the only one. That was maybe that was a premise that had not happened quite like that. But that whole, I've got two participants on the show and we're going to bring out the third, like for whatever reason, I think that was all of the 90s talk shows all the time. That's right. Like that.
That's
that's all they all did.
Every call we went on in the certain mobile home park where I worked, we called it a Springer episode. Everything is a Springer episode. I mean, and that's like, it's for that reason. That's exactly why. So, can you hear that?
Can we do that? Hey, one night, can we have either the 3 or 4 of us on and do like I'll say a fact about someone, and then one of us holds up a piece of paper and says, and the test has revealed that is a lie. Can we do that?
Like yeah, we can do that.
That'd be great.
Here,
all right. Ooh, what you got?
This is the actual clip. The show itself.
Can y'all hear this?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? If I put it on my phone, they could hear it.
They're supposed to be able to hear it.
Talk. I can't hear that mess.
1, 2, 3. Oh, I know why. Hold on. So as not to bore the
no, you're good. I've got it right here if you want.
Here you go.
When he was under the car, you had a fantasy about him.
Yeah, something to do with like brake oil line snapping and.
I think Scott
went on the show not with an intention of embarrassing anybody.
This is
I
his
think Scott
Chevy
went on the show
Chase's
thinking this
twin
was going to
brother,
be a spectacular
and
way
also
No
known as
joke.
he cares
is
about
his
them.
attorney.
Sort of like I don't know if in your days of being
Right?
yeah.
Do you know that he is?
No.
Anything's possible.
Like, I don't want to get
You're
caught up
living
just
in the
watching this thing, but
1990s.
here's the guy coming out. You can just see the kind of attention.
The body language is very important here.
On you?
Did I? No, we're good friends.
Well, guess what? It's Scott that has the crush on you.
You lied to me.
See what I mean? He just rolled with it.
He's confronted with this horrible situation on national television. You can see
Horrible
when
situation.
his hands go to his face in,
Anywho.
in humiliation and embarrassment. And Jenny Jones exploits that and keeps.
All right. Sorry.
Now I will say she exploited it. I don't mean that she needs to be in any kind of trouble. Yeah, now when he says horrible situation, I don't agree with that, but to say that she exploited it, yeah, absolutely. That's all. Everything was that way. That's what they did for numbers, right?
Right.
Ugh. Gross. Oh, but man, the chair throwing was epic in some of those. So I'm gonna go over one more of these little examples and then we'll move it along a little bit. But so we have Patra Williams. This was in 2014. She was fed up with her 19-year-old niece, Marissa. Marissa lived with her. Marissa was really irresponsible in all areas of life, especially with the internet. She would invite strangers she met online to the house for sex and booze. So Marissa and I would have already had a big old talk. So after Marissa continued ignoring her threats to stop, Petra decided to create a fake Facebook profile as Trey. None of this is funny. These names Trey Top Dog Ellis. All right. So the aunt has now become Trey Top Dog Ellis on Facebook to monitor her niece and teach her a lesson. So she friends the niece. They began talking regularly. And in their talks, Marissa, the niece, reveals that she hated her aunt and she wants to get out of Alabama. Don't blame me there. I'm from Tennessee, so I can say it, y'all. I can say it. Things took a darker turn when the niece revealed that she wanted Trey to kidnap her and kill her aunt's fiance, and even the family dog. Scared, Petra called 911. Marissa was arrested for solicitation of murder. However, during her probation, she was able to get away and became a fugitive. It did not end in murder, but wow, it came close. Anyway, these stories go on and on and on. But let's talk about some other facets of catfishing, right? So there was, what was it, like 2000, the early 2000s, there was the show on MTV called, was it on MTV called Catfish?
Yeah, popularized it.
Yeah.
And I want it just like what was that other MTV show?
The Cheaters?
Well, no, that was a whole different production. That was
that was like WB or something.
Yeah, it was WB.
Was it or like CW or something? I don't know.
Yeah, right. But what was the Pimp My Ride and the other
Cribs.
and Cribs? Like those were all just setups. Like I don't know that the cribs were actual cribs. I think that they were just like rented houses and the Pimp My Ride was I think
Punked.
Yeah, now that might have been real. That was Ashton Kutcher. I don't know if that was real or not. I'm still waiting for Ashton Kutcher to jump out of the bushes.
I feel like that's like the theme of the last few years of my life.
I know. I have been there.
Punked.
Like, where's the camera? Come on. Somebody show me where that camera is. Come on. I'm playing along till now. I haven't one yet.
You're waiting for people to just start clapping. Like, oh, you did good. You did good.
And they're all just like this. You know what I mean? They're all just deadpan staring at you like.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, they were all just over the top.
Pants up or what, sir? Come on. It's a joke, right?
Oh my. Well, so you're right though. It was over the top productions, but they not only normalized but glamorized or incentivized the idea of catfishing, and it became. If you guys don't remember, if you weren't around for that show, and it would have people who literally lured people in under a guise of false pretenses, whatever that would be in the moment. Usually it was looks and different things like that. We know with like online dating, a lot of people talk about that kind of thing all the time. I still don't understand that one. I don't get it. You're gonna eventually meet if that's the point. So I'm not sure why. I still don't get that one. But initially, catfishing was made more for a financial gain, though. It was more about money. People would start to assume these identities and do different things like that to be able to run a financial scam on someone. And it's only in the past X amount of years, couple of decades, that it's turned into something, even I would say more so in the last 10 to 15 years, that has become like this a violent crime as the end result. That's a different story entirely.
There was a whole film, a 2010 motion picture called Catfish.
Oh, Bosco, I'm sorry. Bosco said next. I remember that. Next.
Hey, and then think about too, like what that kind of led to were like the Craigslist hookups and the Craigslist killers and stuff.
You know
like
what?
that.
That's right. There was a whole like section of that before we had like social media and things like that, where then it became prevalent on social media. Oh goodness. Huh?
Missed Connections. That was the name.
Oh yeah.
Somebody told me.
Oh man, I'm like taking a walk down memory lane now. I was never on that. I just mean I remember it.
Right.
But
I was never screen named Tall Hot Blonde on
neither was I.
So, oh my goodness, look at Jonathan's screen name.
Why does he keeps changing them so quickly?
It's Jonathan Tall Hot Blonde. For those
but he put 2 L's and the E on the end of blonde. That's already better than old girl.
He definitely doesn't want to get sued. And then Teresa, of course, brings up Manti Te'o, which was a whole different episode of.
Ooh, I forgot about that.
Manti Te'o. Great episode on last.
I'm sorry, Dead Leg is also saying next. So I remember the show Next. My biggest memory of it was probably, what year was that? So it would have had to have been prior to 2010. It would have been, I don't know, 2004, 5, maybe, I don't know. And I remember being at the bar and maybe we had imbibed. And I do remember saying over and over and over again, I mean, I was married at the time still, but I would joke. And like if men walked by and I'd be like, next. Next. Like for like 2 hours.
I can tell you that I was contacted on Facebook. I was still working, so I was a little bit nervous about this, but I was contacted on Facebook. This when I was like developing this relationship with my current fiance.
Okay, fiance.
French word. So I know.
Yes.
All right. But Ashley understood it. So I was contacted on Facebook by this young suitor, this young woman who was like, "Hey, I just want suture." She was a real stitch. I go. She told me that she was like, "I just want to." I feel bad, but for what? I mean, like somebody was using me to catfish her. So she put this whole diatribe about how I broke her heart. And it did all this other stuff, like knowing, like she opened it with, "I know that this wasn't you. Somebody is using your name." And then she went into the whole story about like, I don't know if she was just like hoping I would fall in love with her based on what she was telling me.
Okay, hold on. Is this okay? So there was someone using your name to catfish her, or she was the mastermind and she's saying all of this to garner sympathy? Okay, no. So someone had
reverse Uno. No.
Yeah,
So this was total. she was catfished by somebody using my likeness and my and speaking, apparently very well and poetic and charming her. And they did pretty well at doing it, apparently. And she fell
Tell me
head over
more.
heels. It was just south of me. It was in Sarasota. And she was just kind of like, I don't know. She was just like holding out hope that, hey, did I just say something to make you mad and it's really you? Or is somebody using your name? But she approached me with, hey, I just want to let you know somebody's using your name in your face. Well, then I started getting other messages like that. So somebody was using my information to charm these ladies. And apparently he did better than I, or she, for all I know, could have been tall, hot blonde. But they did better than I would have done, I guess.
But I think this is where I get confused. So then what was the end goal? Like, so are they meeting this person who then is going to know they don't look like you? Are they just trying to take money from them? Because that's
I don't know. I don't know if
just a fun game.
It was probably just a fun game. I mean, I can.
Well, I'm totally going to be you tomorrow.
You don't want to spend a minute in my shoes, kid. Listen, don't walk in this Braves moccasins.
I can't wait.
I want another Native American reference, but I can dig that out of my my messages, I'm sure.
Okay, well, look at this.
It's pretty Drew Breezy. So
speaking of, I'm not sure this is catfish, but this is a little hack, which that's what that is. So Rough Wife, one of our sweet listeners, sends me last night. She said, hey, do you know who this person is? I'm going to show this to you guys, okay? This person's name on Instagram, Maxwell. And
say
Maxwell's little...
Say it again, you broke up.
The person's name on Instagram is Maxwell, okay? And Maxwell says, like, you know how there's like the little bio under your name where you can put a sentence like live, laugh, love, I breathe air and drink water.
Yeah.
And Maxwell says, people feel like you are changing on them, but ... It's not changing at all. It's all about your mind told you love, care, hearty face, kissy face. But so Maxwell, Rough Wife, one of our listeners, sends this to me saying, hey, do you know this person? The reason she's asking me that is because I don't know if I can do all these things at one time. This is the picture.
Oh, wait. Oh,
so that's Eric and his wife and myself and one of the members from Breaking Benjamin. It was like just a picture from when we went to the concert that this person is using. And they actually follow Eric. I asked her, I was like, I said, wait, do they follow me? I was busy doing things I couldn't look. And she said, no, but it looks like they follow Tansy. I was like, well, I'm going to go on and tell him to get rid of that one. They used his own picture and followed him.
That so I've been getting bombarded lately with I don't know if they're Russians or what, but like just new follow, like this newfound fame that Drew Breezy has. And I have a very specific tests. I'm leery right now because I was hacked. If you
I
remember.
know you might want to tell everyone. I'm not sure if everyone knows that story.
Okay, because I also got hit up to be to fall for it again.
Really?
I was, just like the other day, literally the other day. But somebody who was a friend, an acquaintance that I hadn't spoken to in a while. We started following one another, and we were talking like, we'd been friends for a long time, but we were talking over the phone with one another too. So it wasn't out of the ordinary. Then, and we were talking specifically about social media stuff. And then he out of the blue one day sends me a DM that's like, hey man, can you help me out? My girlfriend is going to be the next Maxim cover girl, but she needs the votes. And I'm in Home Depot, like walking around looking at whatever carpenter hammers. Definitely. And he's like, can you just, I'm going to send you a link. Can you just click the link and vote? And then you screenshot. And I'm like, oh my God, like just fucking leave me alone. Like, and I am always the first one. Like my mother has been hacked too. I'm not convinced my own mother is not Nigerian. She's been hacked.
She's a princess.
She might.
She'll pay your mortgage.
She might. So, so I did it. I fell for it. Then like as I tell the story, I didn't make it to the lighting section before I started getting all these texts and DMs like, dude, are you into crypto now? What are you doing? Are you selling crypto? Are you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? This thing you put on Instagram. So I go on Instagram and of course I'm locked out of my own account. So don't fall for the old, hey, can you help me out? All you got to do is click the link and send a screenshot. I'm telling you, like, you're not smart enough to do it, but I wasn't smart enough to not do it. So
I will say that if she is going to earn credit as a Maxim cover model, she doesn't need our votes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I tend to agree with you, but you know, when you got,
I would have done the same thing. And you said you knew the guy, right?
I knew him well. I mean, you know, like, and it all fit.
Is
like
he still living?
He's a really attractive girlfriend, and you know, she was definitely like giving me some social media. Like,
Okay, guys, it was me. It was me. It was me.
It was Eric
So,
Tandy.
I'm gonna have to say it. It was me. Sorry.
So, anywho, don't fall for it.
Hey, is this guy? What's he doing these days?
If you're tall, hot, blonde, what guy?
Is he buried under a parking garage?
No. I warned him. He actually works with my fiance, and I warned her to warn him, and he fixed it. I mean, like he shut his accounts and.
Oh wait, so he didn't know?
No, he had no clue. Somebody had done it to him, I think.
Oh, I thought it was a set. I thought he did this to you.
No. This was
That's why I said that.
And this was a complete mess too, because then all of my followers started getting when I finally got control of my account and I was able to look at my DMs, I was like, oh my God, like I really like this person. I know they're never going to follow me or trust me again. And I'm not going to follow that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to send them a friend request. They're going to be like, yeah, the crypto guy, the hacker, you know, like, so whatever. I mean, I'm slowly starting to get some of those people back into my life, but it is a nightmare. If and it was true. And I'm not like picking on Nigerians. The IP address came back to Lagos.
No, it is a thing. I mean, it's legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's that.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, so how far would we consider catfishing to go? You know what I mean? Is we talked about this a little bit on the phone earlier, but is plagiarism a form of catfishing? Is that just taking the accolades? What about stolen valor? Is it like, do you have to have an end result for it to be catfishing, or is it just your gratification in the moment?
Right. I stolen valor. I mean, I get it. I think that is a form of catfishing. I mean, you're pretending.
I have been at the mall where a guy tries to, first of all, whatever. I have thoughts on all of this that nobody cares to hear, but if you're wearing your uniform in the mall, guy, don't. But anyway,
Next.
Yeah. Next. Next. So he just had to like get to like, what is it? Structure real fast and get him a form-fitting shirt.
Just
he couldn't go home and change first. But yeah, and he's walking, his stuff's all kinds of God bless America, you know, and trying, even my kids are like kind of like, huh, they don't know what they don't know. But yeah, and he was that's what this guy was doing. This was years ago. And he was really oh God, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, ooh, was that grooming maybe? But he was really pandering to the kids. It was more of a like he was getting his ego boosted and his, you know, chest barreled by kids being like, oh sir, like your uniform. And he'd be like, oh yeah, buddy, like, oh, I was happy to do it. You know what I mean? Like championing himself, and his uniform was every way but sideways. And in fact, he about got it handed to him and eventually had to leave the mall. But that's, you know, that I think that's catfish, right?
Do you want to touch my medal of honoration?
This is what we call my commendation. You know what I'm saying?
For meritorious service.
You have an accommodation for my commendation.
Oh,
I don't know. You started it.
y'all.
Y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. Have any of you guys been catfished? I want y'all to tell us these stories.
Are you currently catfishing us? Of the by my count, 655 people in the chat right now. Eric, I don't know what you're talking about it only being 100 or 200 in the chat. I've got 650 people in here.
Absolutely.
Must
I just
be-
bought a 700 new followers 4 minutes ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I used crypto.
right.
So let me, you know what? Let me get to Delphi quickly before we whatever. Whew. So I wrote some of this down. It was a 7-8 page long document that was the what I touched on at the beginning of the show. It was the probable cause for search warrant affidavit that was redacted and released to the public today. If you remember, the case had been super fast recap. The case has not been solved. It happened in 2017. It's been very, very, very tight-lipped. So we've known not much of anything. We did have we covered the case ourselves a few months ago, and then we had someone on who claimed to be in the know on that. Maybe not. He had a bigger claim that he was pretty certain that a certain man named Ron Logan was absolutely involved. Ron Logan, if you followed the case, was an older gentleman who has since passed away in the past 2 years. At the time, though, he was in his 70s when this happened. That's important because of terrain and different things. His property butts up to where the girls were found. He was heavily investigated, and there was a search warrant on his property at the time. So they would have had some cause to perform the search. I understand that. He did lie about his alibi. He also was cleared in every way, as far as we know. Again, he is deceased now. Moving forward, they've not acted like they're thinking too much on him. They've not let us know anything else. All we've ever had was the guys down the hill clip. In fact, we only had the audio down the hill, and it was 2 years later that we heard guys down the hill, and they've never released the rest of that video at all, the audio or video. They said it was disturbing. They've not let us know. They've still not released it, but they've given us a little bit more of a tidbit here. Just recently, back in October, about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, we had a breaking story because they actually arrested someone, first time they've ever actually named anyone, much less arrested them in connection. And that was this Allen guy, Roger Allen. So, or is it Roger or Robert? Whatever, Allen. So when they released this paperwork today, the probable cause affidavit came from the Carroll County or Circuit Court in Delphi, Indiana. So we knew that it says that as the male subject approaches, one of the girls says gun. Now, that's something we've not heard yet. We've not heard anything else on that video other than down the hill or guys down the hill. Wow. Now, I'm not super surprised because we've talked about this. Somehow there's either one or two people involved in the murder of these girls. And I don't think two of them would have been on top of the bridge. I think one would have been waiting down below if there's more than one. I think two would have just caused too much of a scene. But one person had to get these two teenage girls who were adult size, they're 13 and 14 years old, down this hill. And the only way that ever made sense to us would be if he brandished a weapon, right? He had to do something to get them to comply. So I'm not super surprised that he had a gun, but that's the first we've heard of that. So one of the girls says gun. And then in the audio, the reason you guys aren't familiar, they have this audio and video because one of the girls was filming. She was Snapchatting, filming as they're walking down this bridge. So that's what we are referring to when we talk about the audio and video. It's from what one of the victims actually filmed herself when this was happening. So the girls then proceed down the hill and the video ends. So you see them start to actually go down the hill. We didn't know any of that was filmed until now. We have learned today that they did find their clothes in Deer Creek. That was the creek that ran alongside the embankment down under the bridge where they were found. They were found south of where the girls' bodies were found. Now, here's what this alone is what caused the search warrant. There was a 40 cal unspent round that was between about 2 feet from their bodies, kind of between the two bodies. It said it did have extraction marks, but it was unspent. So this bullet has not been fired through the gun. There was a vehicle parked strangely. So now we have this information from, there was a hardware store kind of adjacent to the property and across the street. If you guys are not familiar, this bridge, the way it's a walking trail that a lot of people go on, and it ends with this old dilapidated, no longer like a decommissioned railway bridge. So people would walk it, but it ends, and where it ends, you turn around and walk back. So people would take it all the way to the end of the bridge and walk back. At the end of the bridge, you'd have to go through some brush and some land. And then there's an old Child Protective Services building that was no longer in use, a CPS building. And there's also a hardware store adjacent to that. The hardware store had video monitoring. So between what they gathered from that video monitoring and then from witnesses and people that were on the trail that day, that's how they get this
Sorry.
information together. I jumped a lot right then. So there was a vehicle that was parked very strangely. And so a handful of witnesses mentioned this because it wasn't a big deal that there was a vehicle parked at that old CPS building. In fact, a lot of people would kind of park there to go on the trail. It was the fact that it was backed in very strangely all the way to the building, almost to like if you want to disguise your plate or something like that. It was just backed all the way up to the brick. So multiple people mentioned that. That was also on footage. It's the Hoosier Harvestor video that shows this vehicle leave at 2:28 p.m. If I remember correctly, it's been, y'all have read this case on and off for years, but I think they arrived there around 1:20, 1:30 that afternoon. So this would have been about an hour later that vehicle leaves the CPS building. Someone stated that they later saw the same man that they had seen earlier, and when they describe him, he was wearing jeans, a bluish colored sweatshirt, a Carhartt jacket, a hood underneath the jacket, all the things that we've seen on the picture of the quote guy on the bridge guy. These people said they saw that same man walking north away from the bridge. They had seen him walking southbound earlier. When they see him walking north, he is now, these are 3 adolescents that they have witnessed, or that they have, interviewed, that witnessed this man. I think it's 2 girls and a boy, and their names are redacted, but it says that he was muddy and bloody. They thought that he looked like he had been in a fight. They didn't understand why he had the blood that he did. On October 13th, just this past October, is when they obtained the search warrant that this paperwork came from. When they were there, they located jackets, boots, knives, and firearms, including a Sig Sauer 40 cal with the serial number U625627. I'm going to actually move it over to my phone because I actually just started taking pictures of what it said rather than copying it down because it was going to be quicker. And it says that... Goodness gracious. So, by the way, his car matched up with the car that they saw at the CPS building. Richard Allen's did. He was interviewed again by investigators. He said that he was on the trails that day. He said he saw 2 juvenile girls on the trails east of the Freedom Bridge and that he went onto the Monon High Bridge. So basically, I'm not going to read all of that through to you, but he says that he was on the bridge. He said that he went to the first platform, stopped, sat at a bench, turned around and left. He will then go on to say that he does own a 40 caliber gun, that it, all these kinds of things. This was his initial interview with them, though, before what we know now. This was back in 2017. He states that he was going there to watch fish, look over the bridge to watch the fish in the water. So then once they perform the search warrant, they found what I just told you. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to pull it up here so to kind of not have to tell you all the stuff. So it says that between October 14th and October 19th of 2022, the Indiana State Police Lab performed an analysis on Allen's 6-hour model P226. The lab performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm, function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition component characterization, microscopic comparison, and among other things, the laboratory determined the unspent round located within 2 feet of victim 2's body had in fact been cycled through Richard M. Allen's 6-Sauer model. And then they just go on a bit more scientifically on why that matches up. And then he didn't have an explanation of the unspent bullet. He says that he admitted that he does have that gun. He never denied that that was his gun, but he also said that he never let anyone borrow it, and he said that he had no explanation as to why they would have found that bullet there. It shows that he is the male subject seen on the video from victim 2's phone, who forced the victims down the hill. Further, that the victims were forced down the hill by Richard Allen and led to the location where they were murdered. That's pretty much it. They go through some more timestamps and just essentially why it makes sense that that was him and how that all adds up with his car and his weapon and his time for being there. I don't know. I can't. It makes me sick, like, I don't know.
It makes me sick too. I went down this kind of rabbit hole after we talked to what's his face, the investigative producer. And I found some very interesting stuff. Like, this guy is called.
So that's the platform there we were talking about.
Yeah, it's called Crime Scene to Courtroom. And what this guy did was, like, he took Google Earth images and images that from the actual bridge, and then he 3D rendered them. Then he took, like, he narrates it, so this would be worth watching. But see, like, he puts them to life, like
right. Yeah, I've seen that. It's insanely interesting.
Yeah, it is insanely interesting how he does it. Like, he overlays, like, he's saying this is where she was taking the photograph of her in her position. This is what they would have seen. Like, it's really interesting stuff, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if the guy's a forensic examiner.
It really is. It really brings a scene to life. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a crime scene, but it brings a still image to full on life, and it's very interesting to get the perspective, especially in a case like this when we got the 2 girls and the one phone and the guy coming, like, approaching them.
Right, because I mean, he even goes so far as to say, like, obviously he's been an expert witness and stuff like this, but he talks about, like, the diameter of the branch and how it's stick. You know what I mean? Like, he's done the measurement, he's done the math, and this is kind of what he summarizes happened. I mean, I don't know if there was a second person involved but I mean, as you can, like, I'm sure there's somebody going, well, you can see right here, he's got his hand in his pocket. Like, I'm sure he's just guessing at that, but or no, actually, that was in the.
He did. No, he did. He did in the video. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's wild. And again, none of this implicates Ron Logan. Here's the deal. We can talk on whichever side on that. Ron Logan, again, was the property owner next door. Ron's dead. Ron can't speak for himself, so it's pretty easy to say whatever we want about Ron Logan. So I kind of clarified that before, and I'm not saying that he was innocent to anything, but I want to play both sides there. I'm not going to go full in without knowing. I have no idea. That being said, authorities have continued to say that this is an ongoing investigation. They are still taking tips and leads, which does make me wonder if they feel like they've wrapped it up with Richard Allen. I'm not sure why we're still doing that, unless they just maybe need more information about Richard Allen. I mean, is that what you would? I don't know. Would this bullet be enough to implicate him in the murder alone?
Well, you have to wonder. I'm sure it goes deeper than that. Like, you got to wonder how many bullets.
Just what we know. That's all we know, right?
Yeah, and like, did they extract DNA off of the bullet? Did they? You know what I'm saying? Like, because when you're loading a magazine, and then and they can definitively say that it came from the same gun because it's going to have the same
Right.
extraction marks and all that other stuff. So I mean, like, yeah, I think this is where this is the importance of a good interrogation or interview, where you know, you're balancing that fine line between you definitely want, in a case of this magnitude, you want the suspect to know that they have a constitutional right to silence and the presence of an attorney, but you also want them to fall into that trap that they think that they're smarter than you, so they can outwit you with their interview. And that's when one of the cards to recall this whole thing, you hold close to your vest and you throw down and you say, okay, well then if you didn't have that, I mean, if it's your gun, who did you loan it to?
And he said no one.
Nobody would have had it. It would have been in my possession at all times. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same with the bullets and in the whole 9 yards. So it's not really, it's sometimes, like, I used to teach interviews and interrogations, and I still swear to this day, like, not being able to interview someone sometimes is a blessing. Sometimes it's what they don't tell you that is telling you everything, because, or when they lie and they lock into a story, that's even better, because you can investigate around the lie. In other words, if they, when somebody confesses, they don't necessarily always give you the full story. They're just giving you parts of the story that they want you to know. But when they lock into a lie, you know, pre-confession, or when they're just, that's my story and I'm going to stick to it, that's a godsend also sometimes, because you can investigate around that. Like, you can show that, you know, we know that that firearm was never removed from the safe, and we, you know what I mean? Like, just stuff like that. You're able to kind of circumstantially place the gun in his possession.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, and that's what I'm, you know, again, we're all chomping at the bit for this because we finally have some information that we've not had in, you know, now 5 years, going almost 6 years at this point. So, you know, it is nice to hear something. Obviously, we knew they had something, or else they wouldn't have been able to arrest this man. Like, so it didn't really matter what it was. It was something, and now we know that it was the bullet. And this is all we've got, is the search warrant, the probable cause affidavit. That's it, and that's okay. We don't, as the public, we don't need anything else right now. But I guess, yeah, that's my question to you. I guess, would the bullet in and of itself in this kind of a case be enough to implicate him solely, or do you feel like, since they are continuing to say that they are accepting more tips and they are continuing to keep this an active investigation, and there's a reason they haven't opened up all the other evidence to us? In fact, the evidence file, all of that is sealed, will be until an undetermined time. They've already said that. So does that lead your train of thought to think that they are still considering a second suspect, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I also tend to believe that he probably confessed, but they're not going to talk about his confession.
I think he did.
I think he probably confessed. Like, and if he didn't, it's just a rational discussion with him. Literally, like, the weight of the world is crashing down on him, and you got to use that to your advantage. And
he's married with a daughter. That's the thing. Like, the pictures, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when you talk about a confession, the reason I say, and I don't, look, I'll say all the time, I don't know what I don't know. Like, I'm a nurse and a mom that, like, plays around on Tuesday night to talk to y'all because I don't have adult friends. So, law enforcement or detective work, none of that's my background. But I will say that if he's lived his whole life and has or hasn't done something like this before, but he's lived his whole life in this small town, continues to live within miles of where, let's go on and say where he committed this crime. There were pictures of him and his wife in a pool hall, and right behind him on the wall is the sketch of
Creepy.
the suspect, wanted, because this case is it's big nationally, and it's definitely still very big in that small town. So you couldn't go anywhere, and that's what everyone says: the post office, the grocery store, the pool hall, anywhere you go, those sketches, the old sketch and the new sketch, there were two different ones, are everywhere. And there were pictures of him sitting there, his wife on his lap, they're drinking beer, they got their pool sticks right here, and boom, there's that picture of what potentially is a mock-up of his own face. So you want to tell me they pull him in a room after almost 6 years that he's just been sitting on this,
Yeah.
unless he's been itching to do it again, unless he's not feeling the guilt from it because he's itching to do it again. I don't know. We don't know that about him yet. But he's
I
at
don't.
home.
What I would question about his dumb assiveness is why wouldn't you, after 4 years, just kind of slink out of town? Not
I
4
think I'd
days.
find somewhere else to move or to live. Like, hey guys, this will be a great opportunity for work. It's a better cost of living. Let's live here. It's
There's no state income tax. Like it just
Paris is
something
beautiful
like
this time of year.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so if they pull him in a room after all of that, that's my point. I can't imagine he's not gonna. And when they say, "Look, we got this bullet guy. Like, this is your gun." Like however they go about letting him know that.
they
I
probably
can't.
wouldn't reveal that. They probably wouldn't. They're like, look,
They probably don't even have to, but my point is, I think that he would have confessed. I don't think he's been sitting there with it. He's seen his picture. He's playing a fool to wife and daughter. I just can't see him standing through, not breaking during interrogation. Or questioning.
It's you're using the psychology of, look, the weight of the world has been on your shit. Like, aren't you tired of looking
Exactly.
for me in your rear view because you knew I'd be in your rear view at some
Aren't you exhausted? Have you slept a full night in 6 years? Yeah.
It's time to just let this go and just, but I don't know. It's interesting. I really want to get into that probable cause affidavit. I didn't get a chance to review it. I didn't know it existed until you said it. So.
To be fair, what I extrapolated from that to put on the show is kind of the meatier portions of it. You know how that the language gets, and there's a lot of redundancy and a lot of whatever, but most of it is just kind of like we saw that, a little rundown of witness statements, essentially just all tying it back to the same guy based on his clothing and then his car being at that old CPS building. But the fact that the girl said gun and the fact that they show them starting down the hill with this man in tow, this man who then winds up being Richard Allen because we have those clothes at home. They've not said anything else again because that's not what this paperwork is. But we know nothing about DNA in terms of like when those people saw him on the bridge, those adolescents, and said that he was muddy and bloody. We don't know where those clothes went. But yeah, this was big. This was we knew they had something because they searched and they got him. We just didn't know what it was. And I'm still not in the camp that these girls were shot. We're still all pretty certain that I don't think that they were. I think that the gun was a tool to get them to comply.
I mean, with the round being out, it indicates either the gun was jammed or he didn't know how to use it. Maybe.
Well, so he was a hunter. Okay, so
he knew what he was doing.
He knew how to use a gun. He also knew how to use knives. He had multiple knives at home, and I think that, and I absolutely we'll see how this goes. It doesn't matter. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. My thought process has always been that they were cut somehow because they never said they were shot. I just think that if they were shot, it would be too easy to say they were shot without giving up too much.
Well, there's two things right there. Like, one, you would probably never give the cause of death or manner of death. One, so you can have that as leverage in your interview.
Sure.
When you're talking, or your interrogation, actually, at that point. And then two, you're never going to discuss what occurred in the interrogation, or it's rare that people talk about interrogations anymore, whether they confessed or not, because that's going to prejudice a jury. So you don't just like, yeah, he gave a full confession. Okay, well, we're definitely not going to be having a trial in this jurisdiction. We're going to have to take it somewhere else because everybody thinks now that he confessed. And what is a confession? I mean, he can recant his statement at any point, and they can also fight his, you know what I mean? Like a good defense team can fight his confession. It just depends. I mean, like,
yeah,
I'm sure he's probably like, I want to get this over with. I don't know if Indiana is it Indiana, right? I don't know if they have a death penalty, but I want to get this over with. Here's what I did. Here's how I did it. Let's move on. Like I don't see a prolonged trial. And if it's a prolonged trial, it's possible he's not involved. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't just plead like, hey, let's not kill me. Let me just live the rest of my life in prison.
Yeah. Well, and just real quick to go back to that, the only reason I wasn't set on gun or a gunshot as the cause of death to start with is because when these men were talking, when the sheriff and when all the different people in the investigation were talking, they would shake their heads. Obviously, they're visibly shaking because these girls were murdered, these young girls. However, while they didn't give us information specifically, they would say things that they've never seen, such as this. Eventually, within a couple years, they did speak on how the bodies had been staged, but especially how bloody it was. They did talk about there was so much blood. That was another reason I was thinking, because no one heard a gunshot either. That's the people are on that bridge. It's in the afternoon, and
Well, so my question is, like, didn't the affidavit say that the round was found in between the two bodies, but
it was
wasn't
found 2 feet below them, but between the two. Yes.
all right, but weren't the bodies staged?
They also say that they were staged. So did he stage the bullet? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wonder if I don't know. I just, like I could tell you what came to mind. It's very very gross depiction. I mean, he's a hunter. Like I could see
That's
him
exactly what I thought. I was gonna say he
setting him
shoots
like
the
a
gun,
deer.
the gun jams, and he rips out his knife to hurry up and do the thing and go. Right?
Yeah,
Like
whatever.
that's
Yeah, I don't
kind of
know.
what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? But none of that matters. That's speculation. I try not to do that too much.
Yeah, me too.
That's exactly what was in my head too. Um, not all the steps of that, just the last portion of that until we see that bullet was there, and then it makes sense that he's in a hurry. He's got to get, so he's gonna and we're out. I don't know, but that's the newest on that. We'll definitely talk to you guys if we hear more. I don't foresee a whole lot more forthcoming in the next week. Again, we may touch on the college students from Idaho next week. And I mean, that's kind of it. Oh, a little bit. I am not Eric Tansey. This is not going to be exciting. We don't know. Ghost bed, please don't drop us. But, you guys, it's getting late. We've all had a lot of turkey over the past few days, and it's time to go to bed pretty soon. So, what better sleep can you get than on a ghost bed, right? If you use code WOLFPACK, you're going to get 35% your purchase at ghostbed.com. They have 3-5. They have I don't even have it in front of me. I have it in my ear. I can hear Eric in here in my head bouncing around saying things like adjustable base. They have the cooling technology. It's made in the good old, you ready, Drew?
USA.
USA. Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe it is Eric.
Maybe it is.
You know what I'm saying?
That was
Maybe
fire.
he's the one that throws it off every time.
I think it is, because that was what we just did was perfect.
I know.
That was perfection. But yeah, guys, get a ghost bed. Like, there's no need to muddle it up with words. Get one and use code WOLFPACK. Keep us on the air, guys. That's it. They're great beds. I promise. They have sheets and all sorts of things.
Sheets and all sorts of things.
All sorts of things.
Yeah.
They got cooling technology, and the sheets are cool, and adjustable bases, and
we all want an adjustable.
That's what it
is. Okay.
All right. You got anything for us, Drew? You got anything else?
Listen, Jonathan Bates is on fire, and that's
Who, Tall Hot Blonde?
Yes, that's, by the way, the name of my third book. But, we are currently booking guests for our upcoming show, which is
Comm Center,
titled Comm Center with Drew Breezy, in very small letters, in
Tall
his
Hot Blonde
and funnier sidekick, JB.
Oh, okay, I like it.
So we'll see. But that's that. Please tune in Friday. Make sure you hammer the like button on this show. Share it. Tell your Aunt Sally what she missed. Don't tell her what she missed. Make her watch it. Make her listen to it. This might
make
be
her hit like and download.
Yes. Make her a catfisher. Make her hit like. Make her download the podcast itself. Although I don't know how that's going to be accomplished because I didn't hit record anything, and I don't know if Andrea did, and I don't know what we're supposed to do.
It'll work. It'll work. Somebody will figure it out. Dixlav Act Man Carey says $5 to keep fighting. We're fighting.
We are fighting.
Fighting like Jenny Jones.
Yep. Scott Amador. Okay, so if you're ready to wrap it up, please
I am.
do.
Do you know where the button is that's going to end this? Beautiful.
Yep.
Okay. All
I
right,
don't
guys.
need to FaceTime anybody for this one.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And we will definitely see you guys next week. All right.
See you Friday. Arr!
Oh, that's right. Night, y'all.